You're a joke. No one shows up for a loser's birthday, my brother barked after skipping my dinner. Then watch your loan collapse, I replied, while freezing every mortgage, tuition, and family account in my name. My name is Joshua, I'm 36. To my family, I've always been the quiet one, the lucky guy who never complains and always picks up the tab. I stayed in that role for years, kept my head down, worked hard, avoided drama. I thought that was enough. But everything shifted on my last birthday. That day made it painfully clear. They didn't value me. They had just grown comfortable with my silence. Let me backtrack a bit. I run a business. Not flashy, but stable. I've been in commercial real estate ever since I lost my job in my 20s. The beginning was rough, but I pushed through. Now, it does well enough that I don't have to stress about money. About 5 years ago, I started helping my family out financially. They never said thank you, but they always assumed I'd help. When my dad got sick and money ran dry, I quietly took over their mortgage. When my older brother Andrew was going through his second divorce and about to lose his home, I helped him refinance. When my younger sister lost her scholarship, I paid her college tuition. I never brought it up or waited for gratitude. I thought that's what family was supposed to do. But over time, things changed. They gradually stopped including me. At first, it was missed calls, canceled plans, late birthday texts. I assumed they were just busy. Then came the excuses. We didn't think you'd be interested. Or, you're always working. In reality, they had started pushing me out, but still kept asking for money. Heater broke? Can you help this month? Tight on cash again? We're counting on you. And I kept saying yes. For my 36th birthday, I finally wanted something for myself. Nothing extravagant. Just a nice dinner at a restaurant I'd always wanted to try. I booked a private table for 10 and invited my parents, siblings, and a few cousins. My invite was simple. Would love to see you all. My treat. My mom replied with a thumbs-up emoji. My sister said, sounds good. Andrew didn't reply at all. Still, I hoped. The night came. I dressed my best, even wore my nicest watch. I got to the restaurant early, asked the waiter to wait on drinks until everyone arrived. I watched the clock. 5 minutes, 10, 30. Then the messages started rolling in. Sorry, something came up. Let's do it another time. Can't make it, traffic. The kids are sick. And Andrew? He didn't bother with a lie. Just wrote, no one cares. It's just you. At first, I thought he was joking. But it was real. And the worst part? I wasn't even surprised. I sat there alone, a table set for 10, the waiter awkwardly avoiding eye contact. A couple nearby kept glancing at me, probably wondering what I was doing alone with so many empty seats, and a birthday candle no one would blow out. Eventually, I ordered a pomegranate juice, paid the full bill, and left. I didn't cry. I wasn't angry, I just felt numb, like something inside me had finally snapped. In the car, I checked our family group chat. My dad had just sent a meme. My sister responded with laughing emojis. No one asked where I was. No one mentioned the dinner. And that's when it hit me. They didn't forget. They weren't too busy. They just didn't care. They assumed I'd always be there, paying, forgiving, staying silent. So I sent a single message. Calm. Clear. Let's see how you celebrate without a mortgage. Then I shut off my phone. What they didn't realize is that I had kept records of everything. Every payment, every transfer, every dollar, all documented, all legal. I had power of attorney over my parents' finances. I co-signed Andrew's refinance. The tuition for my sister, managed through a trust I had set up through my business. Quiet control, official paperwork, real authority. I had never used it before. But that night, back in my apartment with the city lights outside, I opened my laptop. I logged into every account. I canceled the automatic mortgage payments. I froze the education trust. I adjusted Andrew's refinance back to full repayment. I even removed them from the family Spotify and canceled the Amazon Prime they all shared. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. At 6:12 a.m., the calls started. Mom. Sweetheart, something's wrong with the mortgage account. Dad. I think we've been hacked or something. Sister. My card just got declined. Can you check? And Andrew. This is ridiculous. Just fix it. I didn't answer. I didn't listen. I let the voicemails pile up, and instead of guilt, I felt peace. Freedom. Maybe, just maybe, they'd finally start to reflect. Maybe the silence would make them think. But then, another message from Andrew. You're really doing all this over some birthday dinner meltdown? Seriously, grow up. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because his nerve was unbelievable. That message told me everything. He still thought I owed them. That my silence meant I had no boundaries. That being quiet meant I'd always be useful, obedient, small. I didn't respond. I put the phone down and made myself breakfast, bacon, eggs, and toast. I put on some music, brewed fresh coffee, and took my time with breakfast. The apartment was quiet, not in a lonely way, but in a peaceful one. For the first time in a long while, there were no demands, no manipulative texts, no sudden emergencies, just calm. It struck me how much of my life had been consumed by constantly putting out their fires, always anticipating the next guilt trip, the next favor that really wasn't optional. Now it was just silence, and it felt good. Around midday, I checked my email, and that's when the real panic started surfacing. One message was from my parents' bank. Apparently, my dad had tried to resume the mortgage payments and even called the local branch when he couldn't. But since I held power of attorney, the bank informed him, politely but firmly, that only I could make any changes. Then came an email from the college. My sister's tuition payment had failed. If the issue wasn't resolved within 10 business days, the account would be sent to collections. The education trust I had created for her had been frozen, and only I could reactivate it. Finally, the last message hit hard. It was from Andrew's mortgage lender. Since I was listed as a co-borrower, any refinancing adjustments needed my approval. Without my financial backing, his deal couldn't go through. They warned that if it wasn't fixed soon, the entire loan would collapse. Things were unraveling quickly. That evening, my mom called, 6 times. Then my dad. Then both of them tried calling together. I didn't answer. I didn't feel obligated to. I sat in the dark with a cup of cocoa in my hands, watching their names flash across my screen and fade. At 10:47 p.m., a final message arrived. It was from my mother. Just one word. Please. But I didn't reply. Because that please wasn't about love. It wasn't about regret. It wasn't a realization of how they'd hurt me. It was fear, not sorrow. Fear that this time, I wasn't going to fix it. I stayed silent. 2 days passed. I took long walks, watched a movie by myself, and ignored every call. On the 3rd morning, my voicemail inbox was full. Out of curiosity, I listened to a few. My dad tried to sound composed, but his voice was unsteady. Joshua, this is nonsense. You've made your point. Let's just move on. Andrew's voice, cold and condescending. Oh, so now you think you're better than us? Just going to walk away from your family? Pathetic. My sister, panicked and near tears. Joshua, I might get kicked out of school. I don't have anyone else. Please talk to me. That was the moment I finally responded, but not with a call. I wrote a single message in our family group chat. All I asked for was one dinner. At first, no one replied. Then a curt message came through. You've made your priorities clear. I responded, now I'm making mine. And that was it. I said nothing more. But the real shift happened later that night. A message came in, Not from my immediate family, but from my cousin Melissa. We'd always been on good terms, though she generally stayed out of family drama. She had no involvement in the money or trusts. Her message was simple. Hey, I know things are tense. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much pressure they were putting on you. I should have come to your birthday dinner. That was wrong. If you ever want to grab lunch, let me know. It wasn't dramatic. It was honest, and for the first time in a long while, I felt seen. I replied, thanked her, and we made plans to meet that weekend. As for the rest of them, the silence deepened. The calls became fewer. My mom still tried with guilt-laced messages. Andrew kept up with his passive-aggressive memes. But I didn't respond. I didn't restart a single payment. My financial boundaries remained firm. And gradually, I felt the control I'd given away come back to me. One night, about a week after my birthday, I passed the same restaurant where I'd sat alone. I glanced inside. That same table, the one I had reserved, was now hosting another group celebration. That's when it clicked. You can't force people to respect you. But you can stop paying the price for their disrespect. Then my phone buzzed again. Another call, another voicemail. This time, it wasn't a plea. It was a threat. Andrew's voice was low and sharp. You really think this is over? You think you can just screw us and walk away? You have no idea what you just started. I listened to it twice, then I saved it. If they wanted to escalate it, I'd be ready. I had reached my limit. I stayed silent at first, wanting to speak up, but I held back. When someone's burying themselves, you let them. Wait until they've shown you exactly who they are. Then you act. 3 days later, another blow came. It was a Friday afternoon. I had just stepped out of a meeting when I saw my phone flooded with messages, texts, voicemails, and one email titled, Legal Action Pending. My heart didn't race. I read it calmly. It was from a mediocre local lawyer Andrew had clearly scraped up. The guy still used an AOL email and wrote in all caps. The email accused me of stealing family money, causing emotional and financial damage, and threatened court if I didn't comply in 48 hours. It was laughable, sloppy, desperate. But under the laughter, I felt something darker. Disgust. This wasn't about feelings. It was about control, punishment, entitlement. Andrew thought if he pushed hard enough, I'd crumble, like always. But not this time. I forwarded it to my lawyer, Robert. He's unshakable. When he read it, he laughed and said, we could sue them for harassment. I felt something new then. Pity. Andrew's life was unraveling, and he wasn't alone. My mom began calling again, too. This time sweet like nothing ever happened. Her voicemails mentioned concern for my mental health, followed by guilt trips about my dad's poor health and needing support. Then came Andrew's Facebook post. Amazing how money changes people. One day they're your brother, the next they're your bank. My sister added a heartbroken emoji. My mom shared it with a caption about loving kids who hurt you. It wasn't reconciliation, it was image control. So I broke my silence. I posted a screenshot of my original birthday dinner invite, clearly dated, and wrote, I asked for one dinner. They asked for my life. The response was immediate. Friends, classmates, even distant cousins spoke up. This is all about a missed birthday? Cold. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. My family's silence said it all. Then Melissa reached out. She saw the post. We met for lunch, and she said something that struck deep. They're not sorry. They're just scared now that you've stopped being useful. That line stuck with me. It helped when my dad finally called. He said I'd gone cold. I asked if he heard what Andrew said about my birthday. His answer, vague, defensive. I stayed calm. I told him I needed space, and that they'd have to learn how to live without my credit card. That should have been the end, but it wasn't. The next morning, the bank notified me. Andrew had tried to remove me from the mortgage without consent, illegally. It wasn't just manipulative, it was fraud. I called Robert again. He was ready. Within days, we sent a cease and desist. The bank launched an investigation. When they compared Andrew's forged documents to my originals, they acted quickly. The loan was shut down. The house was foreclosed. Andrew called me repeatedly, begging, raging, guilt-tripping. You didn't have to go this far. But I hadn't gone far. I'd just gone exactly where he never thought I would. The fallout hit fast. My parents were next. Without my financial help, they fell behind. I still had legal access via a power of attorney from years ago. I saw everything: overdue bills, retirement withdrawals, desperation. I didn't step in. Instead, I formally revoked all legal and financial ties. I left a breakdown of every dollar I'd paid over the years on their doorstep, tucked behind a printed copy of my original birthday invite. 2 days later, my mom texted, "Why?" I didn't respond. I blocked their numbers, not out of revenge, but for peace. Walking away isn't always about punishment. Sometimes it's survival. I had given everything: time, money, silence, until I was empty. I didn't realize how exhausted I was until I stopped giving. Then came clarity. I got back into shape, reconnected with old friends, and even met someone new. She didn't want anything from me except honesty and time. It felt real. One random day, I ran into Melissa again. She smiled and introduced me. "This is Joshua, the guy who finally stood up for himself." That's who I had become. Not the ATM, not the silent son, but the man who finally said, "Enough." As for them, Andrew moved in with an old friend. My sister dropped out of school. My parents now rent on the other side of town. I don't know the details. I don't need to. I'm not their backup plan anymore. This year, I didn't host a birthday dinner. I rented a cabin by the beach with someone who actually cares. We watched the sun sink into the ocean, and for once, I didn't feel guilty for choosing myself. Yes, this was the year I lost my family, but it was also the year I found myself, and if I had to do it again, I wouldn't hesitate.